Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing volume 29 in a manga series I have been reading for a while, Komi Can't Communicate. I'm actually all the way caught up with this series, so now I'm reading them as they come out, get translated to English, and enter my library system. So we are on volume 29. This is what the cover looks like. We have Komi, the main character, sleeping on the cover, and I am going to assume in this book review, because you're watching volume 29, that you're familiar with the plot up to this point, although I do have a whole playlist with Komi book reviews, so if you need a refresher, you can go watch this. The plot of volume 29 is a continuation from 28, or an event that was announced at the very end of volume 28, and that is study camp. So college entrance exams in general, are a very stressful and important time in the education system in many places, including Japan, and study camp kind of provides this opportunity for the high school students to socialize, as well as study and prepare for these exams that are coming up that have big impacts for their future. So Komi and her high school cohort, including her boyfriend Tadano and many of her friends and acquaintances that she has gotten to know, are going to be getting together for a study camp at another high school, and it's going to be this sleepover event where they're going to prep for the exams and socialize as a group. They're reaching the end of their high school career, so this is one of the few times they're going to be able to socialize as their time winds down and they prepare to enter the next phase of their life. And Komi, of course, is sleeping at the sleepover right here, and we have Najimi down here in the corner. The plot surrounding the study camp I feel like is a little dubious, and we'll get to that in a minute, but I'm willing to overlook that because I think this volume was actually really interesting and kind of touched on maybe some deeper topics, because this book, like the other previous Komi volumes, had several stories within it, and these previous Komi volumes will have different vignettes or subsets of life within Komi and Tadano's life in the volume, but sometimes they revolve around a central plot, sometimes they're just more a slice of life. This volume revolves around a central plot, and that is Tadano's past crush, who is at this study camp. So Tadano was really in love with this girl named Rami Kawaii in middle school. He actually wrote the word love on the athletic field, and of course it was the kind of embarrassing thing you would expect a middle schooler to do. He was also going through a phase. The phase is vague, but you can think of the kind of embarrassing phases that basically everyone goes through in middle school, and you can think of a phase. Some of the phases the boys went through, I think, are almost universal, and Tadano was going through one of those phases. So Rami Kawai actually wound up rejecting him in middle school, even though she actually had a big crush on him, because in her mind, she wanted to be the best for Tadano, and she wanted Tadano to go through some character growth. However, there's still some tension and there's still some feeling there, even though Tadano is committed to Komi, to the point where this is now causing an interesting conflict of interest at the study camp. So as study camp goes on, there's the study camp activities, and there's also the general socialization between the other students and amongst the girls in Komi's group. But there's now this new tension that's been introduced between Rami Kawai, which is Tadano's crush, or I'm just going to call Rami from here on out just for simplicity, and Komi, who is Tadano's current girlfriend. So we have a little bit of tension. Rami is convinced that she is better than Komi. She can run faster, she does better in exams, she is just a very self-disciplined woman, and that's commendable, and she is trying to get into Komi's head. She wants Komi, she doesn't just want to, in my opinion of reading this, doesn't just want to bully Komi into giving up Tadano. She wants Komi to willingly step aside in recognition of all that Rami has done to improve her life. So I think she wants to win fair and square, because Rami also is a competitor and she wants to win Tadano back. She thinks that maybe she made a little bit of a miscalculation, maybe when she broke up with Tadano in middle school, and she wants to be with him. And it's a little upsetting to see Komi there with the guy that she's interested in. So that is the setting, and that is the through line that runs through all of this book, the competition and the interpersonal relationship between Komi and Rami. I feel like this book actually touches on some deeper subjects than maybe some of the previous books has. We see both of the girls' insecurities. We see Rami's insecurity, we see Komi's insecurity, where Komi's starting to think, am I good enough? She definitely struggles in some areas, notably communication. Komi can't communicate, but also she is now facing someone who is a direct competitor to her in a way that she doesn't really have in her own high school necessarily. And Rami does have a very put together life, and Rami had captured Tadano's attention. So this isn't just a random outside girl who may have Tadano's attention, but it's someone that Tadano actually had a crush on, very notably, in middle school. So it's a real threat and a real competitor, and we see the internal dialogue between these two girls, as the story progresses. I think sometimes we characterize maybe men as competitive, aggressive, dominant, and women being like these quiet, accepting, passive roles. And these are general stereotypes, and they can be true in some cases, but there's a lot of competition between women and girls. As any woman or girl can tell you, the competition is fierce, and it can be underhand, and it can be ruthless. And not just around men, but that is a place where that sort of competition occurs. And well, neither Komi nor Rami do anything in my mind that's really underhand. They're definitely competing, and they both definitely feel like they have something to prove throughout this story, but they also are dealing with their own insecurities on whether or not they're enough, whether or not they've made the right choices. And also Rami brings up some good points with the ending of high school. How is that going to go? How are they going to navigate that? And will Tadano and Komi's relationship last past high school? Statistically, not many people's relationship does last past high school, so that could be a little questionable or interesting. The study camp premise, the premise for the reason of them all being at the study camp, is definitely a little weak. That was probably the only non-plausible part of this plot. I think Komi Can't Communicate is filled with like 60 or 70% plausible plotline plus the romance manga plotline, and then 30 to 40% just stuff that probably would not happen ever and is just very unplausible and is there for the humor aspect of it, I guess. And that stuff I just kind of ignore because I'm like, well, this would never happen. And also I feel like it's in a weird spot because it's not a really out of water, slice of life, absurd sort of manga in the way that maybe Nichijou is by Keiichi Arwe, where I would accept some of these completely random happenings. This feels like it's trying to be regular, but trying to have that infusion of humor that also maybe aimed for just a younger audience than myself. The whole plot that like the Eton High School might lose their lose their charter or lose their school if they lose this study camp just seemed very implausible, but I was able to overlook it because it was kind of this fictitious creation to get, I think, the high school students alone. And study camps, I have the understanding like those sort of events do occur, like big study sessions, so the premise could be dubious, but the actual scenarios and the interpersonal relationship I think made up for that dubious aspect. Overall, I think it was a fun entry in the series. I liked the interpersonal relationship. I liked the quote-unquote competition. Tadano has made no move in thinking that he's going to just drop Komi for Rami. I don't see that happening, but I think that this is more about the girls, both of them, both Rami and Komi, kind of learning to stand on their own and be their own person as young women. So I liked volume 29, and I'm looking forward to future volumes as they are released. If you read volume 29, please let me know what you thought. Please put that in the comment section down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.